Hi, it's me Kalki, and this is an episode of My Indian Life from the BBC World Service. If you have a story that's made an impact on you, if you know someone who's really inspired you, then please write to us about it. We'd love to hear from you.
When you think about our environment and climate change, how do you feel? Scared? Worried? Perhaps helpless? I know I do sometimes. Many of us fear poor air quality, water scarcity, and extreme weather. Many of us have actually experienced all three. But the question I have asked myself, and perhaps you have too, is what can I do about it? It's a global issue. Doesn't it need a global response? How many of us, with that thought, that sense of powerlessness, shrug and turn away? The answer is plenty, but not everyone.
I'd always read about global warming and I'd always read about climate change and pollution in textbooks in school. I was 14 and I realized that someone needs to do something, and I realized that I can do something. So that's when I decided to try, at least at my house.
From the BBC World Service, this is My Indian Life with me, Kalki Kekla, with stories about being young and Indian in the 21st century. Episode 7: Saving the Planet.
I started segregating waste at home, composting, recycling, and I started reducing also consciously the amount of waste I was producing. So I used to compost in a smaller, bucket-like container. So we used that soil for our plants. And when I started doing that, the waste in my house went down. And then I decided that maybe I can try getting my building to adopt waste management.
This is Arushi Majumdar. She was 14 when she decided to act.
I drew up plans, made a budget also for how many tumblers we would require and how much, everything in total would cost us. And I met my building chairperson and committee members, and I explained to them what I had been doing at home. I think that's what convinced them the most, because they saw tangible benefits. Within another 6-8 weeks, they bought the tumblers. We started composting. We tried to get families to segregate waste at their levels. There were a lot of families who didn't really take it seriously. So a lot of families still send their waste collectively. So we started holding seminars for domestic staff, and we explained to them the importance of segregating, and we explained to them how easy it was again. And so then after a month, the process itself started. So every family would segregate their waste, and it started going into the compost bins. And 6 weeks after that, we had our first cycle of compost. And I think it was probably the best moment for me, also the building committee members who could see the results. And we started using that soil for our plants as well in the building, and everyone really fell in behind this plan. After that, it's been a self-sustaining process, kind of.
One girl changed the attitudes of her entire community.
I feel kind of proud that I managed to convince people to kind of reduce the amount of waste that we were sending. If you look at the amount of yearly waste that we used to produce and the amount of yearly waste we produce now, there's a huge difference. And it's that much better, I think, for the climate and for the world. And it's honestly not that much effort on our parts. We just have to take conscious decisions to do better for the environment. And I think it's so simple, and I think that all of us honestly should do as much as we can for the environment.
Arushi Majumdar is a young Indian who, confronted with the environmental damage we are living with, chose to act. Arun Krishnamurthy is another.
I grew up in a very lush environment in suburban Chennai. My house was located between a lake and a pond. During monsoons, when the lake used to fill up, the water would run through my street, mud roads, and then fill up the pond. And as a child, I've drank water from that road, right? Water used to be that clean. I grew up with a lot of snakes, frogs, crabs, and what we call as dhole, wild dogs. This was what was my childhood, right? I had a greater understanding of the ecosystem at large, not in terms of scientific knowledge and more, just that they all exist and we live with them. Then the urban dream caught on, where things started changing, and that's around where I was in the 4th and the 5th grade. So that's when it started to bother that, something is not right.
He was a bit different from others.
And this is his mother, Booma.
Once he brought up a map of the world and he asked me to create globe because that was a school project. I was wondering how to stick it. This fellow, what he did, he brought a big football and he asked me to stick it, and then he painted blue everywhere. So these are the oceans and this is the land. That out of the box thinking. And we had all stray dogs around. And people used to be quite scared about those dogs. And they won't hurt Arun. They will go around him and they will climb on him and play with him. And he will never allow anybody to go near our home to litter it. And he will go and fight with the people, those who come there and do something.
He was also a big fan of adventure stories, The Famous Five and the Hardy Boys. And like his fictional heroes, he wanted to find clues and solve crimes.
They used to brew illicit liquor in the neighborhood, which was an open secret, everybody knew. But then I wanted to solve some crime, right? The biggest fantasy was to solve a murder. But then nothing happened. But the closest to crime scene that I could get was the place where they were brewing liquor. So I did go there. I was trying to be sneaky, but of course the adults there spotted me. One of them even made me sit by the side, shared his lunch with me, and then the liquor was still brewing, and they treated me really well. And then my whole dreams of solving mystery completely shattered.
But only temporarily, because Arun was about to see another kind of crime, something he felt was a lot more serious.
I came back to the pond. I was sitting by the pond and I was just watching this. One truck came by and was dumping construction debris. They demolished some building close by and they didn't know where to dump it. So they were just coming and bringing and dumping it into the pond.
Arun complained to anyone who would listen about what he had seen. Some were sympathetic. But one of his friends thought Arun could do something more useful than just complain.
What is the point of just complaining? If you want to do something, do something. Otherwise, don't talk about it. Then we spoke to a bunch of our classmates. All of us wanted to get down into the pond. We started cleaning that pond. A lot of adults did join. So what happened was, not that we planned and made it into a community celebration, but that eventually branched out to become a community celebration. Cricket was the core crux. A bunch of us would play cricket close to the pond, right? And the cricket match for that day was to be preceded by a pond cleanup. And then the gentleman who used to own a store close by said, okay, divide yourselves into teams and I will give you guys. Back then we used to get this wafer choco bar. So he said whichever team does well, all of you would get a choco bar. So for a choco bar, a lot of us did a lot of work, right? But then when you're doing that, you also get to see that the work gets noticed, where adults joined in and they saw that we were doing it, they pitched in. We were able to remove close to 30 big sack loads of trash.
Arun is pretty extraordinary because this experience, his ambition to improve the environment around him, has only intensified as he's gotten older. He's always had one eye on his calling, no matter whatever else has happened. And quite a lot has happened.
Google came to campus and they did multiple rounds of interviews, tests and more. And I was a science student and they were recruiting for a humanities stream. Fortunately, I still got through. I was a very small town boy, very happy small town boy, limited in his own world. The Google experience is what actually opened up my entrepreneurial ambitions, because I was working for them, I earned a living, and I used to save money and then spend on my projects.
Those projects were, what else? Environmental efforts. Arun took his salary and invested it in an organization he called EFI, Environmentalist Foundation of India. Its focus is cleaning water bodies. Pretty soon, Arun decided to quit Google so he could focus on his environmental work. He was careful to leave, he says, before he got too comfortable there.
What if there's a lot more money that I get used to over the period of time? And one day I'm suddenly told, no, you're not going to have this. Isn't that going to be a ruder shock and a difficult to handle situation compared to just growing at my own pace?
Arun's father, Chella, had to get used to the idea that his son had turned his back on a hard-won and well-paid job. But it didn't take too long for him to get round behind his son.
My son should grow like anything. You should earn more and live a very comfortable living. For that, he requires a job and he should get promotions in his company and to become a big man. That was every ordinary middle class people will think, isn't it? This boy decided, I want to do some service to the society. My country water bodies are deteriorating, so I want to clean up. The water should be protected for future generation. That was his aim. Okay, I accepted it.
So till now, Arun had saved a pond, set up EFI, and left a well-paying, cushy job. But what was driving him? Perhaps his fears.
If somebody else is not growing my food, I don't have the skills to grow my food. I can only buy the ingredients to prepare a recipe of a dish that I cherish. But I don't know how to grow my food. If you ask me, I'm more scared about such things. I want to find my water. I want to grow my food. And the day when I'm able to do that, I will call myself skilled.
But that is quite a unique way of looking at things. If you look at a lot of people, I think that their fear is not having a good marriage, not having a good house. These are the sort of middle class fears of our country today.
It also depends on what you've been exposed to. Pondicherry, Kanyakumari, Chennai, Tenali, all these places which I consider very close to my heart have shown me a path which is beyond all this. I think that, when we get exposed to such stuff, we will never think about anything else.
Exposed to the change, you mean? Of your
Reality.
habitat being
Reality.
ruined?
Exposure to reality.
And do you think the people are aware of the scale at which this water crisis is?
They wouldn't be until the day there is still at least one drop left in that tap. When the taps go dry, when the alarm bells ring, is when we will finally wake up. I don't think we are a society who can take signals and be precautionary. We need to be given that big bang. Only then we'll wake up to it. That's been our response to almost everything, right? Any social problem for that matter, whether it's gender-based or whether it's socio-economic based, caste-based, we need to have that big one unfortunate incident for all of us to wake up to it, right? When have we been precautionary?
Do you feel overall we're approaching a day where we might not have water available or a place to store it? And are we really prepared in India for a water shortage?
Not at all. We're not prepared at all as a nation. When I go see some of the step wells in Gujarat, Rajasthan, how artistically our forefathers have established an intrinsic system of water storage. And today it's nothing but a place where we've dumped trash or invasive species is growing or there is some kind of an antisocial illegal activity happening. It hurts. We are in a vicious cycle of blame game where you and I are blaming the government and the government is blaming us. There is no collective effort to take India's water seriously.
Were you in Chennai yourself when the crisis hit?
Yeah. So I live in Chennai. Chennai is my base. The water crisis did hit us hard. We some days had no water, and the rest of the days when we had water, it was poor quality. I'm not even talking about drinking water. I'm talking about domestic usage water for the wash and more, right?
So your building itself.
Yeah, almost all of us ran out of water. How that happened was simple as this. One, definitely the monsoons failed. Two, the demand for water. As I was mentioning earlier also, how much water are we using? There's no meter system which tells us how much water we're using.
Yeah.
If electricity was free and unmetered, we would exploit, right? That's what we're doing with water. And we've tapped the groundwater reserves so hard for exploitative usage that we ran out of water. Simple as this.
Arun is playing his part in trying to solve India's water crisis. Reviving traditional aquifers is one of the prime functions of EFI. Along with cleaning pollution from lakes and beaches, like this cleanup at a beach in Chennai.
We think we're trying to protect the planet. We're not. We're trying to make this place a better place for ourselves, right? And getting people to respect nature in the true sense and mean it when they say it has been the challenge. Across 14 states in the country, we are now on our 100th water body.
Till now, Arun and his team at EFI, along with volunteers, have cleaned up 39 lakes and restored 101 water bodies.
There is a greed. The greed is to take as many water bodies as possible, clean them, revive them, because I've seen what happens to a water body when it's protected and revived. When you give nature a chance, she bounces back in style.
Well, I certainly hope this is the kind of greed that we can encourage in more and more young people in India today. Arun and Arushi, who we met at the top of this episode, inspire me. They make me feel empowered, less helpless, and show me that perhaps the actions of each of us can make a difference. I've been lucky enough to grow up in South India in Auroville with people like Arun and Arushi who care about the environment, and have found that I can also adapt myself in little ways. I don't use plastic bottles, use my own metal water bottle from home, as well as a metal coffee mug. As much as possible, tiffin food from home as well. And I've also got my first compost bin. You can tell us what you think of this story or any of our others. All you have to do is send an email to myindianlife@bbc.com. If you've liked what you've heard, remember all our other episodes from this season and from season 1 are available to download for free from wherever you get your podcasts. And if you've really liked what you've heard, then please support us by telling your friends and family about us and maybe writing a review. Next time on My Indian Life.
When I was delving into the whole topic and I realized the horrific stats of trafficking in India, how 16 million were being trafficked and how 51% of them were young girls, and how the average age of a girl getting trafficked was dropping from 14, 13, 11, 9, and that the 7-year-olds are fetching the highest prices in the dark web of trafficking, I wanted to create a mass awareness amongst the population and make you think about these young girls who are going missing into the dark world of trafficking.
That's our next episode, the biggest brothel in Asia. My Indian Life is an original podcast from the BBC World Service. I'm Kalki Keklang. Our producers are Ishleen Kaur and Prabjeet Bains. And thank you very much to our editor, Richard Penton Smith.